You're listening to Emerge.
Hello and welcome to the first Emerge podcast. For anyone unaware, Emerge is a show dedicated to finding and sharing the best in Queensland music. Every Monday night from 7 to 9 p.m. on 1197 AM, digital radio and phoenixradio.com.au. My name is Callum Lakuta. Joining me as he is most weeks is Russell Thompson. Mate, how are you? It's good to have you.
Thank you so much for having me on for the first episode of the podcast. Glad to be the co-host, of course. Can you tell us what the attack plan is for the podcast?
Ooh, so the podcast is going to be a kind of best of the show, if you will. It's going to be a collection of interviews, performances. We're going to have a couple of reviews in the future as well. But yeah, this podcast we're going to have for the first episode. We've got to bring something special, right?
Something amazing.
Which is kind of why it's taken. Well, part of the reason why it's taken such a long time for us to finally do this. Basically, last month we celebrated our 3rd year anniversary show. So we had a big one with some of our favorite musicians. 2 of those will be on this podcast. So I'll interview with Jeremy Neale, catching up to talk about his brand new music, which is kind of more Jeremy Neale, which is what we want, but more personal and a little bit darker. So it's fair to say he's got my attention. I'm too excited for the new material. We're also going to be playing a couple of his performances as well, of a couple of his old gems, Hold On Together and Small Talk, and another interview. We're going to be talking to Jack from Animal House to talk about his ongoing project with the band called Premium Mediocre, which is a bunch of self-recorded and self-produced singles that they've recorded in their rehearsal space, which is going to end up becoming a double album at the end of the year maybe, but yeah, we'll see. What else?
We also were joined by Semantics, Callum, Maddie and Mitch, who came in just last week to talk about their new EP, the second of which is If You're Not Alright, and we reviewed it on the show tonight. Had a fantastic time listening to it constantly, but it's just so awesome to hear them coming in with a context about how they recorded at Bedlam, how they worked with Brock, and also what the EP meant to them. Really brings another level to the EP for me.
Yeah, it's a powerful EP, and it was an absolute, I won't say delight because it's a pretty dark EP, but it was an absolute.
It was an important listen for me.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good to talk through it with the band as well. Because we're big fans of the band, so yeah.
Hugely different to the production quality that you hear from a lot of other bands. So can't wait to put a bit of a spotlight on that one on this podcast as well. But it wouldn't be a music show unless we had some music in the show.
Yeah,
and we're fortunate enough to be a part of the studios here, and having recorded so many in the past, we get to go through our back catalog. So that includes Semantics with one of our favorite live performances in the studio, where Callum came in and performed Cemeteries, which was the track connecting the 2 EPs from releases. And that still strikes with me even to now. And we got a couple other really great bands as well, Cal. We got Strange Seed, who performed All Again, and a beautiful video of that is also on our Facebook page. We've got Bad Sext, who performed Existential Crisis Nap. And finally, Sid's Balcony performed their new unreleased track, Roll Me Up. So if you're listening, stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, if you're listening, don't stop.
Exactly right.
What's coming up first up?
We're going to be having the chat with Jeremy Neale and Cal. You're listening to Emerge.
Jeremy Neale, mate, how have you been?
Hey, I've been pretty good. Been pretty good. How you been?
Not too bad. Better, much better now.
Yeah, good. Yeah, me too, Now that you mentioned it.
Nice finish to a lovely weekend.
Yeah, and it was a lovely weekend in ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go straight into politics.
Block out the next 4 hours if you're listening, because some things to talk about.
Oh yeah.
But ignoring that, great weekend.
Oh yeah.
So here we are.
How's the new material going?
New material is pretty much done. It's done invading my headspace because it's about to go off to mastering this week. So that means it's committed then,
Yeah.
So I could change things, but then it would be a great expense, and I'm out of cash. So here we are. But that's done, and I got a couple of film clips for the first 2 singles done and sorted. So then I'm just kind of finalizing like artwork stuff now. Get the aesthetic right for this one.
Yeah.
Obviously, it'll be probably an inaccessible aesthetic as the last few have been, but that's kind of my thing. So it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And has the writing and recording process changed at all since the debut album?
Yeah, I think like this time, I mean, I still write in the same way. Like I write sporadically when the timing is right, or when I feel the urge to. I have something to say. I was fortunate to have spent 3 months in New York last year where all I got to do was focus on writing, which is awesome. So I got some material from that. But then the recording process this time has changed because I got a couple of people on the team that have been really consistent in the album for this one. So it's been, a lot of it's been between myself, George Browning, who plays drums and does a bunch of production stuff on this one.
Okay.
Josh Coxon, who you may know as Simi LaCroix. He's been doing a bunch of production stuff and playing a bunch of instruments on it as well. And then Aidan Hogg has been the overall engineer and co-producer with us as well. So it's been this like small team going to town on this record, and we've gotten guests in accordingly. But yeah, it's been a real small focus group for this one.
Sweet. And is that the kind of way that you'd prefer to work?
I think it's been a really magical way because we've had a lot of fun. We've eaten a lot of Mexican food. I don't think we can say brands on this show, can we?
I think you can.
Oh, in which case, Guzman. We've just been eating a lot of Guzman in the studio, and it's great. Yeah, it was every time was really fun, and that's what music's supposed to be. So it's like finally cracked the code into keeping music fun.
Yeah,
you still obviously have the parts of the album process that aren't that fun, which is like going over mixes like 30 times, trying to find minute details of what you could do to make it better that no one will notice in the end of the day anyway. But you have to. You've got to do that for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of it, the process itself of recording has been so fun.
Cool. And so how much of the writing did you do when you were in New York?
It's interesting. I wrote a couple of songs in their entirety on there. In New York, I did a lot of fixing and evaluating of what I'd done as well towards the record. I tend to have in the past not been someone who refines as much as I should. That was a great opportunity to be like, let's make sure I really like nail this one. Like, go full detective on the lyrics and get it right. And because I did that, I'd freshly done that like a songwriting masterclass at NYU for 2 weeks when I was there, and they were just like, just edit and re-edit and just like destroy yourself over your songs. I was like, okay, well I will. So yeah, that is what I did. A lot of editing there and a lot of writing second verses and yeah.
And what kind of things can we expect from this new material?
I mean, it's definitely a Jeremy Neale record. I'm still a rock dog, and they haven't found a way to take my guitar away from me yet.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
But it's I guess thematically I can tell you what it sounds like. I think it goes a bunch of different places sonically. There's a lot of other references tracks that I was trying to like harness the power of. Like I was trying to have my own Dancing in the Moonlight top loader vibe song. And I was like, I listened back to the record and I'm like, oh, damn it, Jeremy. You're definitely slipping into adult contemporary in parts. But it's thematically, it all kind of focuses around time. And I wouldn't say, the passage of time and its brutality, but also like achievement and sacrifice, and what do you do to make your life what you want it to be, and because of that, how much do you lose along the way?
Okay.
So I don't know if it sounds like an overly positive record, but there is positivity in it and there's upbeatness to it. So it's a fun listen, even if it's pretty sad in parts.
We'll be right back with Jeremy Neale. Coming up now is his performance of Hold On Together. You listen to the Emerge podcast.
Please, love, I didn't notice the closed eyes. I never meant to break your heart. I never knew just how it was. And hush now, just let me hold you. The closed eyes, I never meant to break your heart. I never knew just how it was. And if you wanna bring me down, well, I don't. I'm cautious about the way I'm over on town. And if you wanna keep this up, well, I don't. But I've been thinking maybe you and me are the ones that hold it together, baby. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That hold on together, baby. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I always listen, never a closed mind. I'm here to try and fix your heart. But if you tell me where to start, oh, to find out it was a virtue, but the truth hurts, and if you turn, it's only me, and we were never meant to be. And if you wanna bring me down, well, I don't. I'm cautious about the way I move around town. And if you wanna keep this up, well, I don't. But I've been thinking maybe you and me are the ones that hold it together, baby. Ooh, ooh, that hold on together, baby. Ooh, ooh. So hold on together, baby. Ooh, ooh. We'll hold on together, baby. Ooh. If you wanna bring me down, well, I don't. I'm cautious about the way I move around town. And if you wanna keep this up, well, I don't. But I've been thinking maybe you and me are the ones that hold it together, baby. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That hold on together, baby. Ooh.
And now for the rest of Count's interview with Jeremy Neale.
So have you brought in many different influences to contrasting to your previous material?
I think I end up just picking like kind of reference tracks of vibe, I think is the biggest thing. So like one song was obviously that Dance in the Moonlight kind of vibe one, and then was like, it's kind of starting to sound like REM or something. So we're just like, what's doing that? And we're really obsessed with that song, and now it has escaped me, by The Outfield, called Dulcie's on a vacation far away.
Yeah.
It's like GTA soundtrack level stuff. Anyway, that song,
Sweet.
whatever it's called, once I remember it, I'll tell you. We were so obsessed with that, and then so Josh has kind of brought in all those guitar tones as well. So it's, I mean, I can't get away from like 80s power pop being like, in my mind, being a great thing. So yeah, there's that kind of stuff happening in there.
Yeah, fair. And last time you came in, we talked about your debut album quite in depth, and you listed All My Life as your personal favorite. Has that changed at all?
I think that's still my personal favorite because it said a lot about where I was at, and I think it summed up my life a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I touch on like mental health a lot in my work, but I think that was, for me, that summed it up really well. And I don't know if it was too poetically said or if it was straight up enough, but I think it was. Yeah, I just think I said everything I needed to say in that song, and so that holds up for me. Whereas some of the other songs probably don't hold up for me, retrospectively. Yeah,
fair. And going back even further, do you have a personal favorite from the first two EPs?
First EP favorite is Lone Tiger.
Okay.
I still think it's a really clever song. I don't know why. Just maybe because I was using chords that I deemed to be jazz chords.
Oh,
They're not really jazz chords.
nice.
It's just one that was like a new shape that I'd learned. And I was like, oh, cool. Oh, I can make it sound quite sophisticated. But I just think it's a very fun song. It's got a lot of contrast, and I still think it's clever. And then on Let Me Go Out in Style, I am a huge fan of the title track. But I forever think that Hold On Together is just like, I think it's a very good pop song. So I still like it. I like that EP too, that second EP, Let Me Go Out in Style. It sounds a little bit magical. There's something to it, probably just because we are harnessing all that like 80s magical studio techniques, but there's something quite magical about it.
Definitely. And do you have a favorite local release in recent memory, be it an EP or LP?
Would be Harley Young's Little Songs for Big People. So Harley, have you come across Harley's work?
No, not yet.
So Harley's first album was like a concept album on Soundgate. And then he moved he's living overseas for quite a few years, came back to Brisbane for a little bit, and now he's moved to Melbourne. But he still writes about Brisbane, I guess, from a distance.
Okay.
Like his records really sound like Brisbane. They sound like the Brisbane childhood I know in the outer suburbs. So Little Songs for Big People, I just think it's a fantastic release. He's a poet. He's not a poet, actually. I just mean he's just very poetic in how he says things. It's so beautiful. And it's like endearing and nostalgic, and it's a lovely record.
And so what kind of genre is it?
I guess somewhere between, like, it has like Bruce Springsteen moments, but like less production. So, but then maybe it's got folky elements and adult contemporary to it as well. He comes from like a country-ish music background. Yeah. But it's not country. It's so hard to describe. It's just the Aussie Australian singer-songwriter, like a Paul Kelly kind of.
Yeah.
He's Brisbane's. I'm sure other people say this person's Brisbane's Paul Kelly, but to me, I guess he's Brisbane's Paul Kelly.
Yeah. Well, it's a big shout.
Yeah. Well, who do you think is Brisbane's Paul Kelly?
I'm not sure.
I mean,
I don't think I've ever actually.
I know I hadn't thought about it either.
That. Yeah.
Just came to me then.
I don't know. I haven't listened to enough Paul Kelly either.
That's the thing.
Which I'm about to be in a lot of trouble for.
No, I haven't listened to a lot of Paul Kelly either. I just like a few of his songs. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah. Like,
he's definitely good.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
Yeah, you know what? Paul Kelly's good. You heard it here first. What a scoop.
Yeah. That's what we're all about.
Harley Young. Maybe he's Brisbane's Paul Kelly. Maybe somebody else is Brisbane's Paul Kelly. But he's definitely Brisbane's Harley Young, currently living in Melbourne.
And what else can we expect from you this year?
Well, new record. Probably the first single. In my mind, and I had stuff ready to go early. I could have done something in March. But yeah, I guess that trailer will start mid-June, and then the record will probably be out in November or something, you know.
Sweet.
I don't know if that's a great time to release a record, but that's just how it's going to be.
When is a great time to release a record?
I feel like if you're playing by the biz rules, you're supposed to do it early in the year so you can get a year's worth of traction out of it.
True.
And then you can, like, you know, get whatever awards it is that go out to records. I don't know. I don't get them. But if I did get them, maybe the reason I haven't is because I didn't release it at the start of the year.
When did Getting the Team?
November.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Because by then, you know, the year's done.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm not a pessimist. I sound like, no, I'm having a great time in the biz. I'm just doing things on my own terms. So record, I'll probably, you know, once the new record's process is on its way, Velociraptor are going to head back in the studio and do a few songs.
Oh.
We've got the songs, just haven't had the time really, or prioritized getting them recorded. So you should hopefully see at least a single from that band. Which has been a long time since we've done anything. We should hopefully see that by the end of the year, because it's like a 10-year anniversary as well. So like we should probably do a 10-year anniversary show.
Yeah,
which is wild to think, but yeah, it'd be nice to play again. It's been a long time.
Jeez, and so is it all the original members?
Yeah, we added 2 members probably 2 years ago, which is
that making it up to 12?
Yeah, I don't know. It means we've got 12 in the vicinity of Brisbane.
Yeah.
But even those people in the vicinity of Brisbane don't always play. So
okay,
we've probably got enough. Oh, maybe that took it up to 16. I don't know. Anyway, we got enough to play.
Yeah.
You'll at least get 8 people, 8 of us in a show.
Okay.
I think there's 12 in town though.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And lastly, if you only had a few words to describe the upcoming material, which few words would you use?
Oh, Like Mindhunter, gritty.
Ooh.
You look, a few words. Let me think about these words. I would say resilience. I would say reflection, and sonically, I would say a warm hug. When I first started, I know I've used too many words now, but when I first started writing this record, I was like, I just wanted to sound like a very understanding voice is in the room with you when you're listening to it. I achieved that on a few songs on here, well, maybe 2. That's fine. I listened to the record back, and one of the songs on there, I cried while I was listening to it. It's like, that person understands me so well. And it's like, Jeremy, that person understands you because it's you. So, but I hope that because I said it so succinctly and hopefully so clearly, that also resonates with people who listen to it. So I want it to be, in its moments, a warm hug and an understanding voice. So let me make those 4 words now: warm hug, understanding voice.
Beautiful. Thanks for joining me, dude.
Hey, thank you for having me, legend.
Still to come in the next 3 minutes is our interview with Semantics. Coming up now is Jeremy Neale with Small Talk.
I quit the small talk, you was a filthy habit, and had me feeling low, so low, full of empathy, and I don't wanna hurt nobody. This vicious cycle, we would only bring me down. Feeling unstoppable, I was a party animal, but the next day I felt so low, full of apathy. No, I don't wanna see nobody. This vicious cycle, we would only bring me down with the party. Tonight I will party with you, oh with you. I said see you later, I cannot be party to this, oh to this, in the future, or whatever I do. Just look out for me, and no matter what you do, I look out for you. I think you're good for me, you're good company, and yeah, I try to be a good company. I do, oh yeah, I do. I couldn't feel alive, stuck with an overactive mind. I was thinking, I saw some love, hyperactivity. No, baby, I can't see nobody. This vicious cycle, we would only bring me down with the party. Tonight I will party with you, oh with you. I said see you later, I cannot be party to this, oh to this, in the future, or whatever I do. Just look out for me, and no matter what you do, I look out for you. I think you're good for me, you're good company, and yeah, I try to be good company. Sometimes I'm not really a good company. You know I wanna be a good company. I do. Oh yeah, I do. Oh yeah, I do. Oh yeah, I do.
Joining us tonight on Emerge is Callum, Maddie, and Mitch from Brisbane band Semantics. Guys, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Last week, you guys finally released your sophomore EP, If You're Not All Right. How does it feel to finally have it out?
It is a massive relief to have it out, to say the very least. We recorded it back in February, so we've been, going through the mixing, mastering process, all of that kind of thing the whole time, booking shows, getting promotional media ready, talking to people, sharing it with a few amount of friends to kind of, get a bit of support. So that's been a long wait. And the last few weeks have been very intense, waiting for that to finish up. So yeah, now that it's out, it's like, thank God.
Yeah, it was like a weird deadline in the end of a month kind of thing. You're watching it and you're like, oh, it's 5 days away. It's 3 days away. Yeah, you just spend the whole time just being like, come on, let's get this thing out. So yeah, it feels good.
And how do you think the new EP varies from your debut back in 2017?
Production's a massive thing.
Big time.
Like recording with Brock just made a world of difference. It was cool because with him as well, we got a lot of very honest, unbiased feedback from him, which kind of let us hear when we were overdoing things, underdoing things, how to get emphasis right. It was almost like working with a proper producer.
We didn't beat around the bush.
No.
He was like, don't do that. Let's try it this way. And everyone on board was super happy with wanting to try every possible way to get the best result. So, yeah, it was really nice to have a very involved member of someone that only kind of met us a week beforehand. So it was really awesome.
I wasn't around for the first EP. I've only been with these guys for about a year now. But just listening to the production quality difference is just huge in comparison to the first EP. I think this one just sounds incredible, and a lot of people have commented that it sounds really professional. So I think that sounds about right.
Sweet. And did you guys bring on any new influences for this EP?
Kind of it's more like the first EP was mostly just songs that I'd written, and then at that point we'd started the band with just Mitch and Bellick, and so Bellick and I wrote a couple songs together, but most of it was just stuff I'd written, and then it was like, all right, everyone, this is some songs I made. There was no real idea of what they were supposed to be or anything like that. So I think with this one, the idea was that everyone's influences would come into the way I was demoing and writing. We'd kind of experiment with all the parts and, rework it in ways that made us all happy. But it ended up being still all of those influences from, all the bands we grew up with were still there. They were just kind of more honed in on and more focused on, not in a way of doing what those bands do, but just being mindful of the process.
Well, taking their best sort of qualities that you remember sitting there and being like, oh, that's an amazing section, or that's a really great concept of a song. And we had the breathability to be able to actually implement that in this new EP. So it was really great. I mean, we started with 15 songs, and every week Callum would just send something through of being like, what do you guys think of this? And it took a while for us to even be able to get to a place where we were happy with just the very small amount that we released as opposed to what we have in the bank. So yeah, it was a lot more methodical. We thought about it a lot harder and made sure that we wanted to get a really good result from this for being so small.
What was the first track you wrote for the project?
Backburner.
I think, it was.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Backburner was the first one. That was just basically going through early last year, going through a couple of lineup changes after Bellick left the band and working all that out. And this is kind of before Maddie came on as well. So I was just jamming around with a couple of people. We were looking for a member and trying to work all that out. And so while that was happening, I just wrote that song in a really, really basic demo form. And we spent the whole of last year getting it to its final place. It started a long time ago. And it still sounds similar, but there were a massive amount of changes in it. So that was, definitely the first one that was technically a start.
That was the pivotal. Once we had that set up, we were like, this is where we're going with our EP sort of thing. It was that was the more defining song of, we had an idea of where we wanted to take the next 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 songs, and we wrote mostly based off that sound, and that's where we ended up today.
We'll be right back with the guys from Semantics. Coming up now is the lead singer Callum performing Cemeteries. You're listening to the Emerge podcast.
I spent a lot of this year driving up and down the coast. I spent a lot of time trying to talk to ghosts. This set of mine, it's got nowhere to go. I get lost every time I try to make it home. And I've lost more mates and I've lost footy games, and it's getting harder day by day. Talking about the good times, where you drew the line. And I'm catching up in cemeteries with friends I hardly ever see. We all get drunk at the nearest pub, and I know I'll see you soon, soon enough. There's a bowls club kicking on Sunday afternoons. The place stinks like piss and packs of Winnie Blues. The whole pub's packed out with smiles from ear to ear. We're all singing bittersweet songs about wishing you were here. And they're hanging up your photograph with a melancholy broken laugh, and stories about the stupid shit you pull. And the worst part is the joke's on you. You got brothers and a daughter too. The fragments of your memory have torn the roots of your family tree.
And that was Callum from Semantics performing Cemeteries. And now for the rest of our interview with the band.
How much did that writing process change since you did the recording of your first EP?
It just took longer. We just were more patient. I guess that was really what it was. We were just more patient with it. We took our time. We were more self-critical. Like Mitch said, I just keep sending through demo after demo after demo of different ideas. And, you know, heaps of them were just like, nah, that's not it. Nah, that's not it. That one's, you know, that's onto something. I'm hearing where it might go, but it's not quite there yet. And then that was just a long process of putting the pieces together into songs that were then cohesive and didn't sound disjointed. And that was a hard part of the process, but I think it was worth doing.
Yeah. How long did you spend at Bedlam recording with Brock?
Only 5 days?
Yeah, relatively short in retrospect, but we came into it very well prepared.
Very prepared.
Yeah.
Extremely.
And it was based off that. It was knowing that we only had 5 days, so you couldn't waste 2 of them just sort of sitting in a room and throwing something at a wall and hoping for a good result. So we went in with like a really kind of almost mission statement. It was like, this is what we're going to get done. Then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and really made a big difference.
And did you record it as a group or like individually do your parts and then lay it in?
So we did the drums with me in the room with Mitch. The idea of that was to get like a live recording kind of vibe out of it. It's kind of weird. Recording is like the worst thing ever because you feel pressure even though there's not really any pressure there. Like, sure, you're on a time constraint, but you still shit yourself anyway. It's terrible. Like, it's the worst. And so a big part of drums is not sounding mechanical or stagnant. Like, wanted to get all the emphasis in there. So it was really cool when Mitch was doing his parts, because we started the whole thing with drums, to get in the room together and just look at each other, feel the click, and play it out. And, you know, like, his style of playing kind of wrapped around that. It was more focused on the performance than it was just sticking to the click. And, you know, like, as important as that was, it was more important to put it in properly.
And Brock was amazing at Bedlam for that, being a drummer himself. Like, he knew that the sound that you can create if you're dead on the money every time is going to be perfect production-wise, but it loses all of its emphasis or even its emotion in how it's played. So he likes it a little rough or a little rushed or a little slower. I mean, we'll dress it up, but ultimately it captures the energy and the emotion that you want to convey. Yeah. And that set a really quick tone for the rest of the recording.
Yeah, the rest was quite easy after that. We just dubbed in everything else slowly. So I think we got a scratch guitar track down, and then Maddie hooked into bass. Spent ages on tones. got some
So long.
got some fat bass tones in there, which is really cool because it was good to do that bit slowly as well, get the right tone so that when Maddie was performing, it was the same kind of thing. Like you could really feel what you were playing. So each part of it, through the vocals, the gang vocals, lead guitar, rhythm guitar, bass, it was all dubbed, but it was all done in a way that we were like in a loud environment. We were all around each other, and it was very free form in that way, even though it was dubbed and layered and everything.
Yeah. And so were you guys ever worried at all that with the high production that you wouldn't capture that live energy
Yeah, we
of
were.
your live show?
We had a fair few conversations with Brock about how we wanted to sound at the end of it, because we've got such a wide range of influences, and a lot of them can be very lo-fi and garagey sounding, and we love those bands and we take influence from them, and so we tried a lo-fi garagey kind of approach to the overall sound of it, but the more we got through it, the more it kind of seemed like, Brock had found a way to record our stuff so that if it was clean, if it was polished, he could make it work. He could really bring it to life in a modern way, and we weren't really expecting it to sound super modern, but it came out like that and it worked.
Did a great job.
Cool. And which track on the EP took the longest to complete?
It's a really good question.
Writing-wise, Mirage took the longest.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
That started off as just a riff that Jack had done, and then that fleshed out into a demo, which then fleshed out into a massive amount of ideas bouncing around that just needed to sit together properly. And that was a really, really hard song to do that with. There's a lot of sections in it that are all completely different. There's only one repeating chorus and the rest of it's all, different sections. So that was hard to structure, and recording it was hard as well because it had so many of those modulated guitar tones, really intense drumming that needed like a lot of that emphasis we were talking about as well.
I feel like we spent a little bit longer on that song recording than the other songs too. I remember having to tone down what I was doing with my bass a fair bit.
Yeah.
I recall him saying that I was overcomplicating things, which he was right. No, he was definitely right. It just needed to be a lot more simpler in some bits than we made it, and Brock was excellent like that. He just knew exactly the way it was supposed to sound, and he just helped us nail it.
Yeah, it's like where things needed to breathe.
Exactly.
Instead of just being everyone competing to have their bit
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
really shine. It was like it sounded better if it was all just together as one, and Brock helped us kind of do that, and that's how we now perform as well. We've changed the way we play live to make sure we sound more together.
Yeah,
and we are so focused on this cool bit that we, fancied up.
Yeah, it's
on
a
our
lot
own.
more cohesive
Yeah,
now.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he brought it together like that.
And if you only had a few words to describe the new EP, which few words would you use?
Definitely sort of emotional for one, in so many ways. Very energetic still. We try very hard to bring that as much as we can.
Loud.
Yeah.
It's loud. It's big guitars, lots of shouting. Still melodic, still pop songs, but we're trying to make the pop songs loud and fast, So, yeah, energy, loud, emotional.
Pretty much it.
Yeah, topical.
You got any words, Maddie?
Yeah, give us some.
Punchy.
Ooh.
Punchy.
Very fitting.
Trent from Punchy.
Oh.
Black star.
What's going on with Trent?
I don't know. He came out recently.
he was around recently.
reappeared. Yeah, he just popped up out of nowhere.
He doesn't look good.
No.
Oh, no.
Not at all.
No.
But, no, he's around. He's getting around. Yeah, Punch Bowl, small town.
Yeah, not much to do there.
Callum, Maddie, and Mitch, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks
Thank
for having
you.
And that was our interview with the guys from Semantics. Still to come is my interview with Jack from Animal House. But coming up now, what's this track, Alex?
This is All Again by Strange Seed.
my friend, please take a seat. Make yourself feel at home. Have something to eat. And hey, my friend, please don't be long. I just hate when you're gone. I just want you to stay, just for a while, just enough time to make you all mine again. Us with night. Everything you said made me feel alright. My friend, you are so very special to me, but I feel so lost. Yeah, babe, I just can't see that I still need all your love. My heart, yeah, I still need all your love, and if I could, I'd do it again, all again for you.
Joining me tonight on Emerge for the first time in a couple of years is Jack from Animal House. How's it going today, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Sorry if the internet breaks up. It's a bit
it's okay.
shit over here.
We'll manage.
Am I allowed to swear, by the way? Sometimes I accidentally do.
You can, I can't. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Great.
You'll be right. Take the most of it, man. First things first, where did the actual name come from for the project, Premium Mediocre?
Well, unfortunately, Will had to work. Otherwise, he'd normally tell this story. But basically, when he was down and visiting his sister down in Melbourne, she's got quite a dry sense of humour. And they went to a classic wanky coffee shop in Melbourne, which obviously serves delicious coffee, but Will just said he was looking at it going, bloody hell, this place is so, even more wankier than normal, And she goes, yeah, I know, it's nice, but it's just coffee. And his sister just turns to him and goes, yeah, it's Premium Mediocre, mate. And then we were like, that's what we are.
So how long ago was that?
It wasn't long before we started the project. So we actually started the project in last May. So it's been going for a year now. Don't tell anyone that because it was only supposed to go for a year.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But I think he literally maybe come back from Christmas and said that, and we were like, sweet, let's do it. And then then the first single was out in May, and it's been the running theme for all of the artwork and all of our shows and our music.
And so who actually makes the artwork? Is that you guys as well?
Yeah, our drummer Nick draws all the artwork and then fills it in on Photoshop. So yeah, he's done he's hand drawn our whole alphabet and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty sweet. Yeah.
And you're currently 16 tracks through the Plan 24. Where did the idea come from? Did you always want to make such an expansive project? Release a track every fortnight or 3 weeks?
Yeah, this idea came along with the whole Premium Mediocre thing. I think we just kept being like, you know, trying to stick to the like the standard route of like recording an EP and then like trying to build up some hype for it and like make a big tour around it, and then it's just, like, in the end it was just like just release an EP. We just released 5 songs. We have like 50. Why did we just only release 5? And why did we spend so much money on it? You know, because we get it recorded in a professional studio. In the meantime, we're learning how to record ourselves, and we're doing our own demos in this like moldy rehearsal studio that we have under the bridge. And then we kept sort of being like, you know, there's that sort of fear that what you release is not going to be polished enough to ever be able to get anywhere. But then we were like, sack it off and just record instead of just doing demos. Let's just fully record them in our rehearsal space, do them as best we can, and get them mixed by this guy who like is really into our music, and he's doing it for a really good price, and like he's sick as well. He's really good. He's got his own little studio in Italy, so like he met us in London and then moved back to Italy. So it's this really random like array of like things that, and then his friend is mastering it who lives like down the road from him, and it sort of gets sent back to us. And then we just thought, like, originally the reason that it was a year-long plan was that we were going to release every 2 weeks for a year, so that would make 24 tracks within a year. Twice a month, basically. Then we just found 2 weeks was a little bit too fast for anything to sort of land. It's we were sort of treading that line between what like King Gizzard do, which is they just release like an entire album and then another one like 3 months later.
Yeah.
We're definitely not as accomplished musicians as them, so we can't do that. But we can like.
Your band is half as small as well. Speaking in terms
True.
of members.
Yeah, it's just Will, Nick, and I that do do all the recording. Will and I sort of producing it, and it's been going well. It's tough work. The thing is that we don't have them finished. They're not all the songs are not finished. So we have to like once we've done a little batch of 3 or 4, we've just got to do the next ones. And like it takes several weeks to do them because we can only get into our studio once a week to actually do them because we share it with like 14 other bands. so it's been a pretty like long process, but we've learned so much about recording and like and about how the sound works and all that kind of stuff. So sorry, I'm starting to getting a bit nerdy on you.
That's all right.
But yeah,
Go
it's pretty
ahead.
sweet. Yeah.
We'll be right back with Count's interview with Jack from Animal House. Coming up now, this is Bad Sext with Existential Crisis Nap.
You're listening to the Emerge podcast.
Look around, see the faces of people I used to say I used to know. Places familiar, some places that I used to go. I feel like a newborn child. I feel like I'm seeing the world through someone else's eyes, a state I cannot quite describe. Oh no, I've gone and slept through the whole afternoon. Oh dear, what's the day, the month, or the year? Oh God, the once bright sun has now become the moon. Oh snap, snap, I've had an existential crisis. Nap. And my friends all look at me like I'm acting crazily, but I'm just real dazed and confused. I lay down just to relax. I accidentally hit the sack. I've lost all there is to lose. And I don't know what it means to be alive. And I don't know what I'm meant to do. And I can't make sense of anything in my life. It's all crumbled after just one snooze. Oh no, I've got it slept through the whole afternoon. existential crisis. Nap.
And that was Bad Sext performing Existential Crisis Nap. Coming up now is the Rest of Count's interview with Jack from Animal House.
And how have you found actually self-producing it all yourselves?
There's pros and cons. Like, technically have unlimited time. We've put on our own time boundaries by making sure we're releasing constantly. But like, it means you can try and spend a bit more time getting the right sound and getting the right take. Whereas when you've got those time restrictions in a studio, you're a bit more like, fuck it, just take that shit take and like edit it a little bit and stuff like that. And we're trying to avoid doing all that kind of stuff as much as possible and just getting those raw takes a bit better, which has been working a lot better for our sound, I think. So, but it's been interesting because now we'd like to try and work with someone on the outside, because there's a few songs that are going to finish off the project that we've tried recording them in our room and we've realized that they're not sounding as good as we'd like them to, or they're not sounding right is how I should phrase it, because the room's the wrong size and the gear's not quite right. And we thought it'd be fun to try and see what it was like again, having a producer. And so for the last 2 tracks of Premium Mediocre, we're going for just like one day in a studio with a producer to see if we can get them sounding right. And then it'll be a bit of a test to see if we want to record our next album with them or whether we want to continue doing it ourselves or whatever. So
okay. And so which track from Premium Mediocre has taken the longest to record so far? Or have they all been pretty similar?
Good question. I'd have to have a look at the tracks. They're all pretty quick. They're all pretty the same, roughly the same, I would say.
Yeah.
There was some that we recorded and then it didn't sound right or it sounded crap. So then we had to go and re-record it. Those ones took, in that case, that would take the longest. But like, I don't know. I think they were all pretty similar, really.
Okay.
Yeah. There's been a couple, like the next one of the songs that's going to come out soon, it's called Getting Clever. That we had to re-record that because we weren't happy with the structure. But like, apart from that, yeah.
And so when can we expect that track? Do you have a date yet?
Oh, well, should be in the next couple of months.
Okay.
Basically, we're taking, at the moment, we're trying to figure out how we're going to finish off the project and release it as a double album. So we're taking a little bit of time before releasing the next one so that we can... So we've not been strict with our recording schedule at all. But, like, fuck it. We just want to get it to be what's the best for us.
Yeah.
And, like... In the end, we want to have a double album which has 24 songs in it. So if we have to wait a few extra weeks to make the timing work, who cares?
Yeah,
no one cares.
Russell and I will be waiting patiently.
Yeah. I still need to send you those tracks, don't I?
Yeah, you do, man.
Yeah.
And do you have a personal favorite from the project? So far?
No, not really. I just like doing it. Actually, I have a bit of a soft spot for La La La.
Okay.
Because it's such a dim-witted song. But after we were like, should we just record it for funsies and see? Because I don't think we were ever planning to release it.
Okay. And
then when we recorded it, we were like, this sounds pretty great, actually. Let's just release it. And then when the mix came back, it sounded even more beefy. So I was pretty stoked about that one.
Yeah.
I've got a good idea for a video clip, which I'm not going to tell you, otherwise it will ruin the video clip. But
for La La La.
Yeah.
Okay. Sick.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
And
yeah, so probably that one.
Cool. And have you had a specific writing process when working on these songs? Is it usually the lyrics that come first, or does it kind of?
No, most of the songs that have come out on Premium Mediocre have come out purely through jamming.
Okay.
So there's one or two on there that Will has written a sort of skeleton structure in some cases a more finished song, and then bringing it to the room. But for the vast majority, probably 14 out of the 16, were literally just us jamming in the room. And then what would happen is Will might either he'd just like be spitting whatever comes into his head, or like sometimes the right lyrics would come out and we'd just write those down, and sometimes it would just be like total nonsense, and then he'd go and write lyrics to the sort of melodies and beats that came out of that.
Okay. So
which is apparently quite like not a lot of bands do that, I've heard anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. The thing is, because Will has no time to think in those situations, what comes out is just almost like whatever he's feeling at the time, and it's just like bleh, and it just tends to be a bit more unique, I guess. If you can hardly call us unique, but like I think you know what I mean. Just hopefully a bit less like it's been written as a song in a bedroom kind of thing. Some of them. So like Peaches, for example, is mad. It's like it was literally a 6-minute jam. 6-minute jam that I then cut out 3 minutes out of because the middle 3 minutes was total rubbish.
Yeah.
And I basically just pasted those 2 bits together, and that was the song.
Has the band influences changed at all since the first 2 EPs? So obviously your sound has changed pretty drastically, like especially in songs like Peaches. That was a huge surprise the first time I heard it. Really? Yeah. Well, like I said, for the first EP in particular, for Sorry, we spent ages getting it. Like, we'd record one song at a time when we had enough money to go into the studio, and then you'd take a year to record an EP, and it was highly polished and and mixed by Stephen Schramm, who's like a producer in Melbourne, who's like fantastic, but like very heavy-handed on the mixing. Yeah. And so it was this combination of us sending him highly polished recordings with him then polishing those even further. They come out as like almost like indie pop tunes rather than the garage rock tunes that we wrote. Yeah. And they were fine. They sort of like we just don't have any sort of connection to them really. They're just a bit overcooked. And fair. We just wanted to bring it back down to earth a little bit more and just be like, rather than choosing 5 out of the 50 songs we have written, should we just let them, and also with Spotify and all that kind of crap, like, we're just quite happy to just keep banging out songs and letting them go down the river of the of Spotify. But we're quite excited to have it as a double album at the end as well, and not having most of those songs. They've had their chance to like be listened individually, and that's kind of cool. And so the sound just gotten back to what we sound like rather than a polished version of what we sound like. Yeah. And do you think the final track listing will be the exact same as they've been released, or are you undecided of that?
In the order.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
are we getting too deep into it?
Yeah, we're getting really deep. You're a bit of a nerd, Kalen.
I'm a big fan, man.
Yeah, you're getting all of the. This is like a. Normally, people are like, "So, when did you guys meet?" Not like, "How did you record this?"
I asked that last time, man.
Yeah, true. Well, I know we haven't even thought about that. Yeah, because we were like, we want to put it on a vinyl.
Oh yes, please.
And there has been a method to the madness in what order we've been releasing them. So probably we'll just stick with what we got. I mean, it's not going to make that much difference. There's too many tracks. It's not a concept album. It's like a bunch of songs that are recorded all in the same place, apart from the last 2. And, that's kind of what makes it all part of the project, I think. Yeah.
And did the last 8 tracks worked out already?
When you say worked out, do you mean
written? They're all written. Are they skeletons yet?
They're more than skeletons. Okay. Most of them we've been able to play live quite a bit and that kind of thing. So there's only a couple that are actually. Will wrote a track recently, which we're like, should we sack off the original idea of we had and then just go with this totally new track, which will be a bit of a new experience for us because normally we like to try and play them live a bit first and make sure that they're we like them still and they sound
Yeah.
good. When you play a song live, as opposed to in your rehearsal space, you get a much better feel, I think, for like how it feels when you play it, like how the energy connects on stage and stuff like that. Like even if no one cares about it off stage, or if no one's listening, you can it just gives it a totally different vibe. So almost all of these ones, apart from like one or two, we've played several times live and liked them. So yeah.
Cool. And what kind of things can we expect from the upcoming tracks?
Oh, we've got a bit of a mixed bag actually. We've got a song about Tinder. That's going to be it's I mean, it's not explicitly about Tinder.
Internet
but
dating.
it does mention Tinder, and it's going to be called Modern Romance. So that one's been going down well live, and it's a good piss take. And it's a riff that I wrote like years ago, which was just never anything, and then we just dug it back up and like go, hey, and then it just all came together, which was sweet. We're writing a song about office workers because that's what Will does. Writing a song about trying to be cool, which is called Be Cool.
Succeeded.
And another, I'm giving away too much information here. That's enough. Don't tell me anymore.
Lastly, if you only had a few words to describe Premium Mediocre, which few words would you use?
Well, like 2 words? Like Premium Mediocre?
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, you were asking for it.
Well, I said a few.
Oh, you said a few. Yeah, that's sort of like, that means more than a couple, but less than 5, right?
I believe it's 3, but I think it's up for debate.
Oh, yeah, because then several sort of takes it beyond that.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
And does the fun stop for the last 8 tracks? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's stopped now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's done.
Damn.
No, the fun keeps going. That was more than 3.
That's all right. That'll do, man. That's perfect.
Sweet.
Thanks for joining me, Jack.
No worries. Cheers for the chat.
And that was the last part of our interview with Jack from Animal House. Coming up now, this is Sid's Balcony performing their next track, Roll Me Up, listening to the Emerge podcast.
We do a little plug. Yeah. Sid's Balcony, Roll Me Up. What you wanna do with your life, you don't know why anybody fall into strife. I wanna know if you're gonna go if we're talking too much. Our mind is so much. All I wanna do is float along the ocean floor. Roll me up and then I'll float along a little more. All I wanna do is float along the ocean floor. Roll me up and then I'll float along a little more. Take a step back. You don't wanna find out. Have a moment now. Take a look around your town. Get the vibe back. You don't wanna hang it down. Smile some more now. Take a picture for the fans. Get your groove back. You know it when I see you dance. Let's go lose that. You know it when I see you dance. Let go of it. You know we had a better chance. All I wanna do is float along the ocean floor. Roll me up and then I'll float along a little more. All I wanna do is float along the ocean floor. Roll me up and then I'll float along a little more. All I wanna do is float along the ocean floor. Roll me up and then I'll float along a little more. All I wanna do is float along the sea by day. Roll me up.
say that I won't give it up. No, I won't level with you. Hold me back and I won't jump the gun. I'ma lose it, I won't get enough. All I wanna do is float along the ocean floor. Roll me up and then I'll float along a bit some more. All I wanna do is float along the sea by day. Roll me up and then I'll float along a special way. Roll me up, roll it on the ocean floor. Roll me up, roll me up a bit some more. Roll me up, roll it on the ocean floor. Roll me up.
And that was Sid's Balcony performing their next single, Roll Me Up, which unfortunately brings us to the end of the very first Emerge podcast. I'd like to give a huge thank you to all of the guests, Jeremy Neale, Jack from Animal House, and the legends from Semantics. I'd like to give a huge thank you to everyone that has listened as well. If this episode did not feature enough Queensland music for you, then I understand. I'm with you, dude. Head to our Facebook page or Instagram page, Emerge Radio Show, for the latest in track recommendations, gig guides, show playlists, some extra playlists, including some artist-specific ones, some genre-specific ones, and also our huge 11-hour Spotify playlist, Mammoth, for anyone that wants to spend their days with Queensland music. And I mean, what a day well spent.
What a day well spent.
Name a day better spent. You can't.
Monday, 7 to 9 p.m.
Whoa. It's a night well spent.
That's a night
Tell
well
you that.
spent.
We've also got performances and interviews on the Facebook page and a lot more. Many more playlists to come. We're going to hopefully have one in early July and late July. So stay tuned. Huge thanks. I've been Callan.
I've been Russell.
Russell, you got something to say?